All right, I think we're live now. End stream. Okay, we're live. Okay, what do you know? All right, well, we are Ore Valley, Arizona. Sergeant Marco Anthony DeLeon. I'm advocating for myself because I am being medically neglected through the Veterans Health Administration or affairs. I've been doing this for some time. I am just learning how to be for several years by being a good steward of, or a good veteran soldier, should I say, that I've been misguided and misinformed for years. Now, I'm not one person that would get, catch on after a while, but when you allow organizations to dictate and control the ins and outs, so to speak, or the process in which uh, um, you're supposed to go about it getting some things done for yourself. In other words, if you have a medical and you allow a government entity, and this is mostly me talking about government entity. If you allow a government entity to take control and do everything they're supposed to do according to the SOP, standard operating procedures of what they know, you have the chance of getting nowhere. Absolutely getting nowhere. I am a example of that. Now, why? Whatever do you mean about that, Sergeant DeLeon? Well, that what that could mean is that when the government messes up, when the government, it's a government organization, when the government has fault, when the government is not abiding by its own standard operating procedures, and what that means is that if the government messes up in some way or form in their standard operating procedures and doesn't follow through to correct it, it is not going to be good for the person. Um, I am that person. So I am being medically neglected through the Veterans Health Administration. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit and explain a tad bit about my my what I'm claiming my disability through the Veterans Health Administration. Okay, since 2010, when I became stateside, when I got back from my tour, I had sustained two head injuries. The two head injuries were masked or overshadowed by my back injury I received at the same time I received one of my head injuries. Now, if you know anything about back injuries, it's like a toothache sometimes, depending on how bad your back injury is. Um, Aching, pain, sharp. It's like some people have sciatic nerve issues. It's a never ending situation, right? Having a back issue. Um, and since I had somewhat of a severe back injury, it wasn't severe enough for me to go to the doctor. In other words, in my standard of being hurt. As a soldier, I figured, in my experience, um, it wasn't enough for me to walk into a emergency room at overseas and say, "Hey, look, I got this back injury. I don't want to do it no more." And that's what happens. Is again, once the government is in charge of what they think is the best thing you can do, your career in the military can be over in a split second. All right. So I was very aware of that, especially when you're injured overseas. Any sort of injury that you want to report that has to do with back or head or something, that counts for keeping you down. The consensus is going to be, without even thinking, is the general rule in military, in government, bureaucracy thinking is, let's keep them down because there's a liability here. And you know damn well that you don't have to be kept down, but that's the way they think. So, in my words, I mean, in my mind, I didn't. I said absolutely not. This is not anything that I cannot control myself, right? And when I sustained my injuries, I talked to a few soldiers, especially my supervisor in charge. I said, hey, I got this thing, and even the my supervisor, hey, you need to be very careful about what you claim for your injuries, because you could be sent to the hospital, and could be kept down for some time. And you'll be here in the hospital for 6 to 8 months, and you won't be able to tour or do any of your missions, or and then you go home and maybe you get better and you can regret a lot of that. So they said, just be very careful. If you think you can move on, then move on. If it gets any worse, then you have to go in. And sure enough, it got worse when I got back. It was progressively getting worse when I was completing my tour, um, to get back home. And but again, it wasn't anything that I thought in my mind that I would have to go to the hospital for. Okay. Now the head injury part very easily can be just enough to create a severe problem. Okay. I've done some research. I've done lots of research on it, and most definitely, if you have a head injury, okay, and you, in my experience, um, if you if you have a head injury, and after you sustain these head injuries, or one or two or however many, and you don't feel right, there you're gonna know. You are definitely going to know that this head injury that you received was somewhat significant. Even though maybe you didn't open your head wasn't opened up, you didn't have a bullet go through it, something, you're gonna know. And like I'm saying, out of the experience I've had with it, I just had a sensation that something was not right with my very first head injury. I had two of them, but the very first one, I didn't feel I didn't feel correct. Like I wasn't square. Okay, it wasn't squared away, and I felt kind of fuzzy, like the whole time after that. But it wasn't something that was completely or even remotely, um, attentive to saying, "Well, I need to go to the hospital." Now, if it was a situation where I wasn't doing anything, I wasn't in a combat role or something, I probably would have went to the hospital and said, something not right. I don't feel good. But I wasn't in that role. I was in the role of kick ass. Okay, and that's what we did. And so it wasn't significant enough for me to turn myself in to say, "Hey, I have this thing." So vague, what do you call it? Documentation on it. But yet, when I got home, my back injury was over masking with the pain and the limitations, and it was getting worse. So after I received my surgery for the back, I just couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the locking up and the pain and the sharp pain going down my legs and up my back, and so I had to get surgery. So once I got the surgery, I got the surgery and approval from a surgeon who said, "Yeah, you need your spine is swelling up in that area. So let's reduce the pressure and do a lumbar laminectomy. And so I got it, and I believe that after getting the lumbar laminectomy, that was a clue. That was uh, a how can I say a pre evaluation of what was to come. So what it did was, after I received my surgery, both of my legs stopped working. Not immediately, but within a few weeks, and then completely after a few months, it just stopped. That was a cue to my brain injury that I didn't take care of, that I wasn't paying attention to, and no one was, because we didn't know what was going on. And so with that, everything that happens to me, whether after, after the surgery, if you do surgery any part of my body from that point on, if I get injured severely, or it impacts my body somehow in a significant way, my body reacts to it and gets rid of that area, as though the brain is saying, hey, that area is injured, let's shut it off, because that area is also injured in my brain. So it's sort of I can't go off and just start get in a car accident and think I'm going to be okay. And you're saying, well, everybody can't. No, but especially me. How can I put it in a more simple way? I can't go out there and start boxing, say, hey, I want to try out some boxing. If somebody hits me in my face and my neck jerks, I could lose the whole motor function, because the central nervous system in my body is dysfunctional. So I have to live in a bubble, you know. And so what you see here with my face, it looks like I had a stroke. I had a tooth pulled, and the surgeon that pulled the tooth didn't do a good job to numb it and make sure that the nerve was dead enough to pull the tooth. And man, it hurt so bad, him pulling that tooth, I couldn't believe it. And after he was done, I lost function, some motor function of my face. And so I also had that done on my right hand. I had a combat injury, and they did surgery because I was losing motor function in my fingers. They were actually going numb, so they wanted to free up some of the pressure in my hand. After they did the surgery, well, guess what? I lost the function in my forearm, my hand, and then I was trying to learn how to adapt with using it, so I started cycling, and lost the function of my lattice and my right arm due to the overexertion of the nerve, exercising it. And so I'm not in a good situation, right? So this head injury, two head injuries, once the government gets a hold of your situation, it could either be all good or all bad. And mine is all bad. So I have to take action. And one of the ways I want to take action, I need to take action, is from everybody, the community, because you see the government is saying and sticking behind the idea that I'm trying to fraud the system, as though I got this injury somewhere else, right? So immediately after I came home, I started to experience more numbness, more weakness, and I started to address it with my military unit, with the job I was on, with the Homeland Security and the Army Guard, and I was getting the information uh, written down, and yet the military and the government, the VA, will not connect the dots to say, yeah, the guy absolutely got the injury overseas. It only makes sense. It looks like a duck, sounds like a duck. It's a duck. He was in a situation. We have proof that he was involved in IEDs. He was in a combat role. So yeah, absolutely, this is where he got it. There is no doubt that you cannot connect those dots. but the military is standing, I mean, the government is standing by the fact right now that I am a fraud because gatekeepers, people, gatekeepers who are our medical doctors who are abiding by the SOP to the Veterans Health Administration has already fucked up. They already messed up. They kicked this can down the road, and now nobody wants to go back on correcting it. So now for years I've been trying to, get with organizations to help me correct it, and no one, not one organization has followed through to help me do that. Instead, most of them in the beginning were hurting me. The Order of Purple Heart, I had to fight to get into becoming a member. They completely misguided me. The the DAV that was on the grounds, the VFW, a whole bunch of things. The only thing that um, the thing that upsets me about this whole fiasco of going through the government to help me fix my situation was, one, I had to do it that way. We were in the beginning when Trump was president. There was a lot of problems with veterans going outside the VA to get help to document, medical. Then the community pays for it. The Veterans Health Administration pays for it, and we were having a lot of trouble. So it's just getting organized. Well, I was in that debacle too. So, you know, there were still a lot of limitations with veterans getting help through the outside. And now that the outside community has learned about what veterans seek the most, what they're trying to do, the outside community is now complicit with the Veterans Health Administration. So if the Veterans Health Administration says no, then the community says no, because it's like the Veterans Health Administration is the boss, right? They're the ones paying the bill, or they're the ones referring, so people can make money on the outside, and so they're going to abide by what the VA says. So I've been in that rut. Okay, I'm like in a medical neglect purgatory. That's what I am now with the TVI. Doing the research on the TBI, I have learned that a TBI usually does not affect your intellect. Okay, so it doesn't affect your intellect. It does affect your thinking. Your process of memory, your behavior, things of that nature. But it doesn't affect your intellect. So if you learn 1 + 1 is 2, you're gonna know that. It's not gonna say, well, one, let me see, one, unless it's a severe injury and you have surgery to it. They have to take out part of your brain. You got some speech, this what do they call it, dysaxia, or I don't know how to pronounce that, but it's where you lose your motor speech and some of your thinking, but what you have learned stays with you. Okay, that's just the way it is. Your intellect stays intact. So that's why I'm able to communicate. But I do need the community's help to fight the government now. And you guys pay the bill, you know, and so I need your guys' help to help me get through this situation, because the government is saying that I'm frauding, trying to fraud the system by claiming that I have this TBI, and they don't want to, paint the picture and connect the dots. They're already kicked that can down the road, and they're not going to go back on blaming doctors and accountability. They're just not going to do it. Okay, and so I need to force them to do it. So I've been reaching out, currently to like the Wounded Warrior program to see if they can help me out with some equipments. Um, because the VA, I can't ask for specific things from the VA. They're going to give me the standard, wheelchair like I have now, that, is too big to go around corners, too big to put in a vehicle. I have to have everything set up. Um, it's been quite the mess. It's been quite the mess. I have applied and been accepted into receiving a vehicle grant. And in that time, my disability was at a certain level. Well, it has gotten a lot worse, and so I need to kind of reclaim that grant. But it's a one-time grant, and I'm not able to readjust so I can get a van. I got a truck now. I need a van so I can, wheelchair into the van. But if I would have known that I was going to get worse with the TBI, I would have gotten a van in the first place. And this is where the VA comes to criticize you. This is where they come in and they say, criticizing you for, spending your money on things you didn't need. And, we giving you this, you're in charge, and there's nothing we can do to help you further. So there's got to be some readjustment, people, with these programs, especially with somebody in my case. I mean, how many people do you have a situation like mine, right? How many people? So I definitely need the community's help. What you could do as a community is contact my congressperson, who is Juan Sicamani or Kisamani, some of that nature. Andy Biggs or Kirsten Cinema, any one of those, to get to the right person and complain and say, "Hey, we got a soldier who's needing of help. The Veterans Health Administration is not willing to uh, um, adjust his medical situation to get him what he needs, the medical help, the medical equipment. You need to adjust his diagnosis so that way he can be in a department to get these things and get the medical help that he needs in case we can try to slow down his disability so it won't kill him tomorrow, you know? And so I need that help from the community so that way, I can fight it, get my the correct benefits, get the correct diagnosis, get the correct equipment and health care that I need. Okay, so that's what I need. It's not asking for too much. I'm just asking for the public's help, which is, if you want to help in something that is kind of rare in a situation, this is your time. Here's your opportunity to help me. Okay, so it's an opportunity to help me. You got all my information on these videos. If not, it's Marco.A DeLeon, the number one, at gmail.com. And you can email me here or just contact the my congressperson in Arizona. It's Juan Sicamani or Ciramani, some of that nature. Kirsten Cinema is also one of the contacts, or Andy Biggs is one of the contacts. You can contact one of them and demand that this soldier be readdressed. Okay. Thanks a lot, you guys. And I'll be looking forward to getting some help and getting myself situated so that way we can, win this battle with the VA. Thank you.